Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Cothran, and I'm bringing you the City Council meeting notes for July 11th, 2023. Um, it started off with a new volunteer fire department person, Robert Horst, Horst, was approved as a new volunteer fire department. You may have seen him. He was an RN. He retired from being an RN. He worked in our emergency room right up here at our hospital. So he is now on the volunteer fire department. The next order of business was conditional use permit for the Office Parks District. It seems as though there's a whole zoning district that's called the Office Park District. It looked like it was south of Butler over there. I'm thinking over there east of 13th Street. I think that's what it was. It may have been on this other side. I'm not sure. I tried really hard to make out their map and I just could not quite see where it was at, but it's in that general at least parallel area. But they wanted to just be able to add a repair garage to that zoning code. So that's what they're doing. They're adding a repair garage. They were real careful. They do not want it to turn into a convenience store. So therefore they can't sell anything out of that store that's food or drink if it doesn't come out of a vending machine. They're allowed to have vending machines. So it will not turn into a convenience store, but it's for automotive repair and things like that. So the next thing was Generations Park. They brought in the plans that were 90% complete. They discussed the 90% complete and exactly what that meant. And what that generally means is that's the pretty much the final plans. But since they call it 90% complete, there can be some adjustments. But they see these plans as the final project. So the grant that we have that's going to help pay for this has to see the plans before we can put them out to bid. So that's what's the next step is to have the city do the send it to the grant people so they can look at it before we bid it out. They're planning on putting it out for bids it's sometime in August, and they're planning on getting the bids back sometime in September. So I'm assuming they're going to start on it after the bids are in and they decide on who to go with. They discussed a lot about, but just back to Generations Park, there were several people that came from Generations Park came to the meeting about Generations Park, and they discussed just noise and lighting and things like that because they live right there and they just are just being cautious. And right now our parks around Blair close at midnight. And so there may be a sooner close time for this park since it's right there in the neighborhood. I don't know. They tossed around a lot of concerns, a lot of ideas. The city council was very interested in their concerns, and the mayor was even writing them down, so they do have a record of them. Okay, so big talk about the North Bypass. What they're looking at is a North Bypass that's going to start at 28th and 75. It's going to go north around Blair, around all the housing in Blair, back to 30 on the other side. I'm not sure what it's called. It's the one that we just was talking about. That's at the end of Jackson, that housing development there. We're just talking about it because there's another housing development going in just north of it. The one with I think it's called Riverview Drive. So it's gonna go on the other side of Review Drive, and that's where it's gonna come out. There's, difficulties there because it's a couple of water bodies of water it passes over, and then there's also a big flood zone, lots of several flood zones from what I understand going through there. So it's gonna be a lot of work to get that done, and it's not gonna happen tomorrow. Lots of studies gonna have to be done. There's a $1.7 million planning design, preliminary design. So it's a $50 application, a $50,000 application to start planning this. So we're working on that, and without buying any land, because obviously there's going to be some land that's going to need to be bought, and there's going to be a lot of things that's going to need to be fixed before fixed and decided upon before anybody really starts determining how this is going to go. They even discuss that it's probably going to be somewhere between a 60 and a $65 million project, not counting buying any land. So they're going to be seeking federal funding, and we all know how fast the government is. So don't expect a north bypass anytime within the next few years. It's going to take a little while, but if we don't start the plans now, it's never going to happen. So they're starting that plan. The north bypass is going to be about 3 miles, where the south bypass is less than a mile. So that it's going to be a much bigger project than the south bypass. There was a discussion about taking the north bypass all the way on down through to 91, so we could get that traffic also into the north bypass. But it seems as though the contour of the land is a little bit too aggressive to allow that to happen. So they're going to go from 75, they're at 28, and around north of all the housing developments and things. On the other side of Riverview, that subdivision there, and come out on 30 before the bridge. That's what they were talking about. Okay, so in order to be able to start the planning for this, they approved an agreement with FHU for federal funding. The application. I was just talking about that application for $50,000. So we're trying to work with the federal government and trying to get the federal government to help us out and pay for as much as possible to keep Blair out of our pocketbook. And that was the meeting. Thank you, guys.